What kind of skills do you have that the average person doesn't have that can help you make someone fall in love with you, get the promotion instead of somebody else? You were mentioning to me off camera just now that you're starting a show to give people this skill set to improve their lives. What skill set is that? Like, what do I get if I'm CIA? Because I imagine I'd become like this Svengali kind of character.
When you start training with CIA, they teach you that human psychology is really just a series of frameworks. First, human psychology is consistent from human being to human being, across gender divides, across educational divides, across language divides. So just like what motivates you motivates a 95-year-old Chinese man who lives in the hinterlands of China, right? We're not that different because organically our brains are the same. They're made of the same components, the same pink matter, gray matter, and white matter. Like they have the same 5 sensory organs. They have the same approximate lifespan. They're built on the same calories that come in, and they're built on the same core nutritional value. We're not that different. But we always we overlook the similarities because we're so focused on what differentiates us. Part of that is because human beings evolutionarily are still trying to survive. So we're still constantly scanning for threats. So when we see a new language or somebody who's younger or older or somebody who has a different appendage between their legs, we see a threat. So then we respond like we're responding to a threat instead of seeing the similarities and recognizing the commonality between us. So CIA teaches us to push aside the threat vector assessment. It's still there, but now it's more objective. It's more, how is this person a threat? And when you understand how they're a threat, you can focus more of your cognitive resources into winning their cooperation, or what we call winning their compliance. Winning their compliance, there's a recipe to it. I'll take a break in case you want to hear the recipe.
Oh, no, I need the recipe. I need the recipe. What do you mean in case I want to hear the recipe? I need the recipe.
So there's 2 parts to the recipe. The first part about winning someone's compliance is understanding what motivates them. All human beings are motivated by the same 4 categories of motivational levers. Okay. It's an acronym that we call RICE, R-I-C-E. That acronym stands for reward, ideology, coercion, and ego.
Okay.
So all people everywhere are susceptible to the same motivating factors. Do I get something? That's a reward. Do I believe something? That's an ideology. Do I feel a negative consequence to something? That's coercion.
Deterrent. Got it.
And how do I feel about myself? That's ego. So we're all just giant machines that run on these 4 levers all the time, right? That's the first component of getting compliance. The second component...
I'm seeing so many parallels with regard to tribalism and parenting. I'm like, Wait a minute.
Marriage, hiring and firing, building a business, leadership, followership, it all boils down to these 4 levers.
Right. Okay.
The second component is something we call sense making. Sense making is how you make sense of a relationship. And that sense making piece has 3 steps. The first step is essentially discovery, realizing something exists. The second step is competition, where you compete for resources, attention, dominance. And then the third step is compliance. So when you understand someone's motivational levers, and then you understand how to drive how they make sense of the situation, how they make sense of the relationship, you get to a place where they become compliant with your will and compliant with your goals and compliant with your direction.
Okay, hold on. So, question for you. When I look at people who see the world differently, I'm trying to understand it. So, for example, in Los Angeles, you've got the ICE riots. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, my brother is like, these monsters are tear gassing grandmas and are handcuffing children. And my mother sees the exact same thing. My wife sees rapists and gang members and drug dealers that Donald Trump is trying to remove from the country. It is impossible for me to get these 2 sides to I can't get beyond the ideology. And when you can't get beyond the ideology, it's very difficult to, unless you validate it. And by the way, Andrew, I've tried, okay? So I'll give you an example. I've tried these techniques, and I've tried to say, like, I see your point here. Look them in the eye. I repeat the point so they know they've been heard. I build that karmic debt up there, right? Like Dale Carnegie says, and I see your concern here. I validate your feelings here. But, are you able to see that maybe Kilmar Abrego Garcia is a bad guy? Like, are you maybe able to see the fact that, people that are not good guys came across the border? And I can't get through that ideology.
So it's
How are you doing that?
Part of it's because you're trying to combat ideology with logic, and they're two different things, right? If you just look at the brain has two hemispheres. There's a left and a right hemisphere. The left brain is your logical brain. The right brain is your emotional brain. So when you do exactly what you're doing, you're doing the right first step, validating and building what we call social capital, what Dale Carnegie calls karmic.
Whatever the heck it's called. Right. I'm probably butchering it. I read the book a long time ago, but I remembered. It's like you got to put some deposits in the bank there.
Right. It's building rapport.
Yes.
Or what we call social capital, an actual exchange of rapport.
Yes.
Right? So you're approaching them ideologically. What you're failing to consider is that their ideology is tied to their survival instinct. They can't abandon their ideology, or else that's the equivalent of abandoning their survival.
Oh, wow.
So instead, the technique that we use, it's 2 or 3 steps advanced, but to get to your exact example, the technique is you have to make the problem their problem. I hear you. I validate your feelings. I validate your emotions. I can totally understand how you're feeling about this. What do you think they should do? What do you think they should do in this instance when there's, a drug smuggler or a child smuggler that's also taking advantage of the system? How would you solve it?
Okay. So here's first thing is like my brother is now living in a place where he was affected by those riots, but his answer was it's not that ICE or the fact that we've let chaos rule in California. It's Trump's fault.
Right.
So he's the go-to, and I don't think Donald Trump is perfect. Trust me. However, in this particular instance, I don't believe it was Donald Trump's fault.
Right.
We've seen this again and again and again and again and again in California. So, okay, what do you think they should do now? They will either say, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is not. He's a Maryland man. He's a dad. He's got the tattoos. He's got this. He's got that. I don't believe it. It's like you can't break through you can present. Okay, I get it. There's the logic piece. That's fair. What do you think we should do? And they will often say, not this. Like I watched Bassem Youssef debating Israel and Gaza. And the guys on trigonometry said, okay, great. Israel's not perfect. What do we do? Not this. Mm-hmm. But they don't
answer the question.
No.
Correct.
So are you supposed to fill in that answer?
Well, what you're running into is you're starting to see the limits of what they have critically thought through. And this is important. I'm going to make an unsettling parallel for you, but you're going to understand it.
Okay.
Have you ever asked yourself the question, how do you make a terrorist? How do you take a person
I have an idea.
Who's 5 years old and playing soccer with their friends?
Okay.
How do you turn that person into a 25-year-old who puts a bomb on their chest and blows up a bunch of other kids who are 5 years old playing soccer?
3 ideas. Okay. Number 1, you take something from them very young, like you kill their parents or their brother dies in a bomb raid from the U.S. or something like that. For example, I was told that the Pulse nightclub in Florida, the guy that shot everybody up, got on the phone and was saying, you got to stop the bomb raids. I believe it was in Syria. So, okay, maybe it's that. The brainwashing of these guys are other, these guys are bad, these guys are the devil. And the third thing I would guess is I read a book about building cults and the promise of like 100 virgins in heaven waiting for you. So reward. Okay.
That's the reward piece of it. Yep.
Where's the deterrent part though?
So I love that your instincts took you towards a systematic approach. Because the first thing you said, for everybody watching, we know this, I don't know if you caught this. The first thing you said was, you take something away from them.
Oh God. Yeah, got it.
So if the first step is a predictable input, guess what you can do? You can control that. Now, if I want to turn these 5 kids into terrorists, but not those 5 kids, I just have to take something away from these 5 kids. So it's systematic. Now it's something that's, in business terms, scalable.
Oh my God, Andrew.
So what the system is called a radicalization ladder. And the reason I'm telling you this is because the first step in a radicalization ladder is there has to be an injustice that is committed.
CIA believes that all people are born with a spy secret superpower. For some people, that means they can win deals. For others, they can spot liars. Some can even seduce lovers. I built a free 3-minute test to help reveal to you exactly what your secret hidden superpower is. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, take the test, and start using your spy superpower to stay ahead of 99% of people.
The second step in the radicalization ladder is that injustice has to be validated by a separate source. Well, what the is happening with these riots right now in LA? An injustice has happened. There are people who are validating that injustice from outside. There are Americans who are on the radicalization ladder. And when you really think about it, the most radical left and the most radical right aren't that different from the same radicalization process that terrorists put junior terrorists through to ultimately develop a 25-year-old who will wear a bomb on their chest. Let's all remember what just happened with Luigi Mangione. What is he if he is not simply a radicalized person who essentially put a bomb on his chest and went out there to kill somebody, and now he's on trial making $25,000 in donations to try to, because people believe that he did the right thing. Who are the people that are giving him money? Other people who have been radicalized through this systematic process that we know exists, but we don't really distribute publicly.
Why are we, gosh, I started this out wondering how I get a job and how I groom my, how I get the people on my team to work harder for the company, or how I win arguments with my wife and my brother and my mother. But now, this has taken a bit of a turn because we are raising radicals here. And I don't relate to this. And while people could say, oh, this has gone on throughout history and throughout the history of our country, it's just how you're framing it. I don't remember feeling anti-American at any point in my youth.
Right.
Or any of my friends feeling anti-American. And it seems that the consensus, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's like, I have uncovered that America purports to be the good guy, but we're really the bad guy.
You just nailed it. You just nailed it. And that's such an uncomfortable truth that when faced with that truth, our survival instinct rejects it. Our survival instinct is like, no, that can't be right. Like, there must be some other response. So there's this cognitive dissonance that happens in our brain to keep us alive that says, I've always believed this. Now I see this irrefutable fact. I can't refute it, so therefore I'm just going to erase it from the memory banks and fall back on what I believe. We have done that as Americans since World War II. I understand that people will disagree with me. I understand that this makes me sound un-American in some circles. America's geopolitical strategy since the end of World War II has been to become the biggest bully on the block. After World War II, we were a strong economy. We were driving and building new innovation. What was Europe doing? Just rebuilding.
Yeah.
They had no money. They had no infrastructure. All of their men had been killed. All of their children had been traumatized. So who actually rebuilt Europe?
We did.
Who rebuilt Japan?
We did.
The Japanese culture right now is a workaholic culture. They work 12-hour, 15, 16-hour days. They smoke to stay awake. They booze themselves at night. Who created that culture?
We did.
We did. Germany's trying to rebuild an army right now so that they can take a larger role in NATO. If you think about that, right? We have put so much pressure on NATO for so long that now their conclusion to how they decouple from the United States is to let Germany create the biggest, strongest army. Not France, not Spain, not Poland, not anybody else. Germany's like, we'll do it. Yeah, that's a great idea, right? How many global wars have started when Germany had a large, successful army? I'm not saying that they're still Nazi, but World War II wasn't a war against the Nazis, or World War I wasn't a war against the Nazis.
Right.
But you see this pattern erupt, right? When America isn't the dominant power, somebody else becomes a dominant power. Why is China on the rise? This will be my last point, Jillian.
No, please. No. Keep talking.
Why is China?
Let it go where it's going to go. Forget it.
China's on the rise because they are emulating America's process. Nobody else has emulated our process. The reason we're in such such conflict with China is because we, at a government level, realize that that's what they're doing. Their Belt and Road Initiative, rebuilding the third world, is exactly what we did after World War II. Their competition for technology to create an alternative. What are they creating an alternative to?
Yes.
American technology.
Yes.
Because they know that all over the world, everybody is reliant on the US dollar. Everybody's reliant on American technology. Everybody's dependent on American IP. So China knows that if they can steal our IP, copy our IP, or create a competitor to our IP, they can offer that solution all over the world at a discounted rate, especially if they offered it at a discounted rate with built-in backdoors that let them take control of it.
Yes.
Because guess who did that first?
We did. I read a whole book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And in the latest edition of it, it talks about how China is running that playbook now.
Yep.
And they go into the developed world and they promise to develop the infrastructure so they can harness their resources. And then essentially the banks go in and say, we gave you this loan to harness your whatever minerals, farmland, oil, whatever it might be, and you can't pay it. So now we're going to have to take that from you. And that was what this guy did, like over the decades. And now China's doing.
And here's what's really wild. We were blind, completely blind to the fact that we were being copied, emulated, and strategically outmaneuvered until COVID-19. COVID-19 was the day that we all woke up and saw the geopolitical landscape for what it was. When everybody shut down, specifically when China shut down and everybody else's economies came to a grinding halt, that was the first time that the world kind of was like, wait a second. Everything comes through China? Raw materials come from Australia, but they're refined in China.
Right.
Disposable goods are manufactured in China. Like, we started to see how everything goes through this hub and spoke model through China. How in the did China create that hub and spoke model? Because the United States was doing what from 2001 to 2023?
Fighting in the Middle East.
We were distracted. And while we were distracted, they didn't fight in the global war on terror. They just took our playbook and started running it. And they started buying land, and they started buying mineral rights, and they started developing technology, and they were stealing technology, but we didn't care that they were stealing technology because we had fucking radicals that we had to take care of, right? So we were completely caught with our pants down for 23 years, 23 modern years, right? And China, that's how China skipped the whole phase of having landlines. Think about that. The United States is covered with land-based telephone lines. China skipped that phase altogether. They just went straight to cellular. How did they do that? From us. They copied it from us. And then they built their own telecommunications infrastructure based off of us, built their own satellites based off of us. We all, to a certain extent, we all understand that China just copies us. But why? Why do they copy us? They copy us because they know that our works, our strategies, our plans, our procedures, our frameworks. It works. They don't have to be better than us, because once they get as good or even almost as good as us, think about how much we've had to decline to get to the place where we're equal.
Right.
It's not just them coming up to our level.
It's us falling apart.